Saigon, April 1975. Smoke fills the sky. The city is falling. You have 72 hours to decide. Stay under communist rule or pay smugglers in gold and flee across the South China Sea. Your neighbor, a doctor, wraps thin gold leaves the size of playing cards into a cloth belt. His entire life savings now fits in his pocket. He boards the boat. The family next door, who kept their savings in the bank, stays behind, waiting, hoping. When institutions fail, paper wealth dies fast. But gold? Gold moves, and it survives. Economic collapse does not just erase money. It rewrites the rules of reality. In Vietnam, families with savings in local bank accounts found themselves trapped as borders closed and paper currency became irrelevant. But those holding gold leaves, small, dense sheets of value, bought passage out of the country and rebuilt elsewhere. In Syria, over 1 million people fled. For many, the price of escape, a single seat on a smuggler's boat, had risen from 10 euros to 1,000, not payable in Syrian pounds, only in euros or US dollars. A crossing cost more than most citizens earned in a year, unless they had already converted their savings into something portable, trusted, and universal. In Ukraine, the financial collapse arrived in hours. On February 24, 2022, the war began. Banks froze transfers. ATMs emptied. For a while, you saw numbers on a screen, but you could not withdraw a single unit. One refugee described escaping with Bitcoin on a USB stick, converting it into local currency only after reaching Poland. It worked once for someone tech-savvy during ideal conditions, but it only worked because it was converted. Even in that best-case scenario, Bitcoin was a bridge, not a destination. Then there is Venezuela, where inflation hit 4,000% in a single year. Those holding bolivars lost everything. Those holding gold? They traded directly for US dollars and food on the black market. The systems failed. Gold did not. Every one of these collapses exposed the same truth. Your net worth means nothing if you cannot move it or use it. The currency system you trust today can disappear tomorrow, and when it does, value flows back to the physical, the trusted, and the portable. Physical gold works for one simple reason. It does not depend on anyone else's promise. Fiat currency depends on a functioning central bank. Digital assets depend on power, internet, and exchanges. Even bonds depend on a government's ability and willingness to pay. Gold depends on none of that. When Syrian refugees paid smugglers in dollars and euros, where did those hard currencies come from? Often, they were purchased in advance, using gold. Kim Ton, or gold leaves, were thin sheets of pressed gold, folded into belts, hidden inside clothing, and smuggled out across national borders. Not to trade for food, but to escape. Gold is not used during the crisis. It is used after the crisis, when you are crossing a checkpoint, bribing a guard for safe passage, or rebuilding in a new country where your old money no longer matters. It is universally recognizable. A border guard in Vietnam, a vendor in Venezuela, a refugee smuggler in Greece. They do not need a bank to tell them gold is real. They see it. They feel the weight. They know it can be sold anywhere to anyone, no login required. Unlike cryptocurrency, gold does not need electricity or technical literacy. A grandmother can store it. A farmer can recognize it. No app, no Wi-Fi, no hardware wallet. Gold is the original liquidity, 5,000 years of history backing its value without a single default. It does not yield interest, it does not pay dividends. But in the exact moment when institutions fail and trust evaporates, gold is still standing, silent, untouched, ready. Because gold requires no permission to be valuable. If you cannot carry your wealth, you do not actually own it. The Vietnamese boat people understood this perfectly. They developed one of the most efficient economic escape strategies in modern history, based on fractional gold. Not full 1-ounce bars, not jewelry, but thin, fiend sheets of pure gold, stacked like cards, wrapped in fabric, small enough to conceal in a shirt lining or under a sandal. This was called Kim Tan. A full ounce of gold, weighing 31 grams, is conspicuous. It shines, it clinks, and customs officials know what it is immediately, which means confiscation. But thin gold leaves, pressed flat and hidden in seams, often passed unnoticed. Mistaken for foil, deemed worthless, yet worth thousands. Survivors used them not to buy bread, but to buy passage, to pay smugglers, bribe guards, and fund re-entry into a new life once safe. They were not trading, they were escaping. This distinction matters. You do not hold gold for daily crisis survival. You hold it to cross from chaos into order, without losing everything you spent a lifetime building. And the form matters just as much as the metal. During the Syrian and Venezuelan crises, those with large bars faced a problem. They could not break a bar into smaller units. Bribing a border agent for $300 makes no sense if you only have a single bar worth $4,000 and no one nearby can give you change. That is why survivors chose 1 gram, 5 gram, and 10 gram bars. Small enough to use, valuable enough to secure what matters. Spread across bags, belts, and pockets, like financial body armor. Strategic, portable, quiet. You do not want to be explaining value when everything around you is burning. Gold in the right form does not need to speak. It gets you across. Crossing a border during crisis is not just about escape, it is about what you are carrying when you arrive. According to the Bank Secrecy Act in the United States, anyone entering or leaving the country with more than $10,000 in cash must file Form FIN 105. If you fail to declare it, the amount can be seized on the spot. Now here is where it gets interesting. Gold is not classified as a monetary instrument. That means a person could enter the US with $50,000 in physical gold and technically avoid reporting requirements under the Bank Secrecy Act. But that does not mean you are legally safe. Gold still falls under customs declaration laws, and failing to declare gold properly can result in civil asset forfeiture. Your wealth vanished for a paperwork error. You must prove the gold was legally acquired, not connected to any illegal activity, and in your possession honestly. For a refugee escaping war with no documentation, this becomes a bureaucratic nightmare. And that is just entry into one country. The real danger is what happens before you reach safety. Border guards in collapsing regimes often demand bribes, but if what you offer is a full-sized gold bar, you run into a new problem: overpayment. You cannot break a gold bar into pieces at a checkpoint. You cannot get change from a warlord. You offer too much or lose everything. This is why denominations matter. 1 gram, 5 gram, 10 gram bars provide the flexibility required to pass through each stage of escape. Cash is trackable, bank accounts freeze, digital assets rely on power and signal. Gold moves silently, but only if you understand how to carry it. Gold is not a plan. It is part of a plan. You do not buy gold to get rich. You buy gold to make sure you are not poor when the rules collapse. You buy it before it matters, because by the time it does, it is already too late. Here is a breakdown of how to actually use gold as survival strategy, not just theory. 1. Accumulate fractional gold. Do not buy only 1 ounce bars. Think like someone who might need to move with your wealth and spend it in stages. Focus on 1 gram, 5 gram, and 10 gram bars. Small enough to hide, valuable enough to trade. Easy to understand in any country, under any condition. Buy slowly, consistently, and without drawing attention. 2. Distribute it properly. Never carry all your gold in one place. Use pockets, lining, money belts, hidden compartments. If one location is compromised, You lose a portion, not everything. Portable wealth must also be survivable if partially seized. 3. Assume loss, prepare for redundancy. In real collapse scenarios, 10 to 30% of what you carry may be lost to bribes, theft, or confiscation. This is not paranoia, it is history. Build redundancy into your plans. Carry more than you plan to use. 4. Follow declaration laws at borders. When entering a stable country legally, declare your gold honestly. Bring any documents, proof of purchase, receipts, certificates. Partial information is better than none. It shows intent, and that matters in legal systems governed by due process. 5. Know what gold is and is not. Gold is not emergency cash. It is not for buying bread in the middle of collapse. Gold is to get out, to cross borders, and to give yourself a reset after everything else fails. That is its real purpose. It is not wealth. It is insurance. It is not everything, but it will keep you from having nothing.
Gold is not for the day the shelves go empty. It is not for trading soup at checkpoints or lighting fires in basements. Gold is for the escape. It is for the night you need to cross a border, buy your family a seat on the last truck, or land in a foreign country with something real in your pocket. That gold will not feed you, but it might move you. People in Venezuela, Syria, Ukraine, Vietnam, they all saw it. Digital money vanished, banks locked doors, paper, screens, apps, all gone. What remained? A silent metal, dense, trusted, recognized, anywhere. Because when systems fail, gold does not help you survive the chaos. It helps you survive what comes next.